Hollywood is aglow for its own crowning event, the annual Academy Award.
Movie theaters are struggling. The movie theater business is still reeling from the pandemic, which cratered audience attendance and fueled an explosion of streaming services.
Bond. James Bond.
Mounting Cineworld Group, which is one of the biggest theater operators, says it's considering filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection.
Are movie theatres dying? It's a question more and more people are starting to ask. And when you look at the numbers, you can start to see why. Since the pandemic, UK cinema attendance has fallen to levels we haven't seen since the 1980s. In 2020 alone, admissions fell by 75%. And while 2022 and 2023 brought a slight recovery thanks to blockbusters such as Top Gun Maverick and Barbie, the overall trend has not reversed. Some chains are still operating on reduced schedules, while others have shut completely. Over the past 3 years, at least 40 cinemas in the UK have completely shut down for good. And these weren't just big chains either. These were small independent venues. The kind that show local projects, indie movies, vintage films, and foreign films have been hit the hardest. Meanwhile, streaming has only grown stronger. Netflix hit over 233 million subscribers in 2023. Disney Plus reached over 160 million just 3 years after launching. HBO Max, Prime Video, Apple TV Plus, they're all competing to dominate your living room. And to be honest with you, they've made it easy. You can pause, rewind, watch it on your phone, skip the trailers, and avoid the ticket prices. You don't even have to leave your bed, so it's not hard to understand the appeal. However, that convenience comes at a cost, not just a financial one, but a cultural one. During the pandemic, streaming services capitalized on this situation. Disney released Soul, Turning Red, and Luca, all directly to Disney Plus, completely skipping cinemas. Warner Bros. Made headlines by announcing their entire 2021 slate of films, including Dune, The Suicide Squad, and Matrix Resurrections, would all launch on HBO Max the same day as their theatrical release. And it wasn't a one-time thing. Some studios haven't gone back. Even audience behaviour has shifted. Once we got used to watching films at home, it became harder to justify going back out, especially since home screens are bigger, cheaper, and more flexible than ever. Christopher Nolan once said, "The notion of the movie theatre as a sacred place is disappearing." Some studios have turned to streaming without considering what that means for cinema. It's not about keeping tradition for the sake of it, it's about recognising what cinema has offered for over a century. Not just entertainment, but atmosphere. A place where attention spans stretch, where distraction is limited, and where audience don't get to skip scenes at double speed. You can't pause a moment in the cinema, you're in it. And when it ends, it ends. The structure shapes how we engage with the story, and how deeply they land. Streaming has changed that, not necessarily in a bad way, but in a different way. On a platform like Netflix, a film lives next to a dating show, murder documentaries, and 14 other recommendations. It's not special, it's just another option. And if it doesn't grab your attention in the first 2 minutes, you scroll past and move on with your day. That doesn't mean films are necessarily worse, but the way we experience them is becoming more fragmented, more casual, less focused. And while that works for certain genres such as sitcoms, reality shows, and YouTube style content, it's not ideal for films that rely on pacing, tone, and immersion. That's why independent cinemas are so important. They're the ones showing slower films, foreign language projects, documentaries, stuff that won't trend on TikTok, but still matters. And when those cinemas close, those films lose a home. In London alone, places like the Genesis Cinema, the Rio in Dalston, and the Electric in Notting Hill have all publicly struggled to stay open since 2020. Some have turned to crowdfunding to survive. Others have downsized their staff, cut screenings, or closed secondary screens. In smaller towns, closures often mean there's nowhere left to go. It's not just a loss of business, it's a gap in the culture of community. Streaming has given people incredible access to content, but that same access is changing our habits, and maybe even our expectations. How long does a film need to hold our attention before we click off? Do we finish movies anymore? Or do we just skim through like their podcasts? However, it's not all bad. Some directors are adapting. Netflix has hosted films from Martin Scorsese's The Irishman, Noah Baumbach's Marriage Story, and Adam McKay's Don't Look Up. But even these projects risk getting lost in their feed. After all, a movie competing with short-form viral videos is already at a disadvantage. Cinemas don't have that problem. They give films space, time, and a proper frame. And right now, that format is under pressure. This documentary isn't trying to say that cinemas are dead, or that streaming should stop. It's simply asking what are we willing to let fade, and whether we'll notice before it's too late. Because if we don't value the places that make film feel like an event, we might lose them quietly. Not with a bang, but a slow, silent fade to black.